The following program is a Town of Colonie television production of the William K. Sanford Town Library.
Welcome to Albany County News. I'm Mary Rozak, the Director of Communications for Albany County. And today we are going to talk about a subject that we started to talk about last month, and that's nutrition. But we're going to get a little more specific with certain age groups, an age group that I am fast approaching, and so are many other Americans, and that is seniors. And joining me today from Hannaford Supermarkets is Dietitian Fran Weiss. Welcome back.
It's great seeing you again, Mary.
Good to see you too. We touched on the last time you were here. We touched on the My Plate, the healthy plate, right? And we're gonna talk a little bit about that again, but we're gonna focus on seniors today because there are some very specific needs throughout different age groups, and it's really important, I think, that we talk about seniors and the seniors' healthy plate. First of all, we have a couple of plates here, and we should talk about that. So we have a smaller plate with a larger plate. Why don't you tell me a little bit about why the difference in the plates?
Well, first of all, just as a small review, this is the My Plate is a government recommendation for healthy eating, and it's a basic way of eating. So we all have different needs, different ages, different times of life. Through the life cycle.
And this is like the regular size dinner plate.
This is a regular dinner plate for adults, an adult size plate, 9 inches. Mm-hmm. So what we're going to be talking today is about senior nutrition, which we're going to talk beyond My Plate. Mm-hmm. So the My Plate is the basis. We do need to eat this way. Half our plate should be fruits and vegetables, good antioxidants, fiber and fluids, which we'll be talking about. Quarter of the plate, healthy proteins, and a quarter mostly whole grains and some dairy products as well. Mm-hmm. The reason I have two sizes because as people age, sometimes appetite goes down. Mm-hmm. We don't have to fill up this size plate. It might be overwhelming for people.
Sure.
So actually eating on a smaller size plate but the same proportions would really work out really well.
So is this normally what we would call a kid-size plate?
It could be a kid-size plate, and sometimes people might lose their appetite. We could adapt. Also, people trying to control their weight as we age. Mm-hmm. A smaller plate filled to the brim makes us feel like we're eating more, so sometimes a smaller plate really does help. Mm-hmm. As opposed to less food on a bigger plate, we might not think we're really eating as much, but we kind of attempt to fool ourselves.
Sure, it is, but it is very much a psychological thing when you're looking at the plate and you're thinking that. And I know now with the restaurant trends, even you have the smaller plates, the tapas. A lot of times that people are getting those smaller plates for those.
And the regular dinner plate sometimes is for your whole table, really, the size portions that are on there. But that's true.
Sure.
Yes.
All right. So that explains the two different plates. Let's talk a little bit. You just touched on something that I want to start out with. As we get older, it is a fact that our senses get a little numb. They're a little bit less acute. And one of those that we talk about a lot is taste, is smell, all of which goes into eating and food and diet. How do we cook for seniors? How do we account for this? How do we make sure that the food we are getting is healthy, is tasty, and is appealing?
Well, one of the things people might notice, all of a sudden people might be salting their food more. Mm-hmm. That might be an indication that taste is being altered. Or some people might just have a lower appetite because they're not having any taste. So what we try to do is have some foods that have more spice to them, or more kick, or more taste to them. So we might try to avoid having salt, which we can talk about later. Mm-hmm. I think basically what we're going to talk about today is foods that we can have as opposed to foods that we can't have. Sure. So we talk about adding years to a life, but we're also adding life to our years by staying healthy. So one thing that we can do is try and add some spices instead of salt or sugar to help entice it to spark up the taste buds. So one thing that we could actually do is try different spices. Like, for example, instead of sugar, cinnamon is a very sweet spice that has no calories, good for blood sugar control, and
No calories.
and there's no calories in any of the spices, but it does spark our appetite. It does try to, the more spices we use, depending on how low the taste acuity is. We can use turmeric. That's another great spice that has is a good antioxidant. And one thing,
I know this sounds very familiar. I'm sure I've used it, but what is it actually? What does the turmeric taste like? What can you liken it to?
it's hard to. It has.
I'm going to open it and
Yeah, why don't you smell it? It has a kind of a taste and smell to it. So if you could open the whole thing, yeah.
Okay.
It's a great antioxidant for people to have.
Oh,
so
it's not open.
It is open. Maybe that's a new one. Okay,
No, that's
you
fine.
can
I
open
can
it.
I can spell right through.
Well, we're going to open it because what we're going to do today, I'm sure you know about baking cocoa.
Yes.
Okay, so cocoa also is a great unsweetened cocoa, which is found in the baking aisle. Is a great source of antioxidants. There's no sugar added to it, and it gives a nice cocoa taste. So we could add this cocoa, just plain cocoa, to our yogurt and have like a chocolate yogurt.
Oh, okay.
Get it to smoothies, not just for brownies anymore, I guess, the baking cocoa.
That's right. What about calories, though?
Their calories are very low. So here I did bring my glasses because I'm in with the aging puppy. 10 calories in a tablespoon. So it's really very low. It is also a good source of fiber. So
really?
Yes.
Oh, I was not aware of that.
So what we're going to do, what I would like to know is if you'd like to make a little spice mix to take
Certainly.
home.
Certainly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the plate
Yes.
out of the way, and we have a variety of things down here people can't see. We're going to be doing all kinds of things today.
Okay, so one of the spice mixes that people enjoy making is a sweet turmeric spice mix.
Okay.
And I have a few different spice mixes here from McCormick that we actually made in a class the other night, which were very popular.
Okay.
So
classes that you have at
at
Hannaford.
Hannaford Supermarket.
Okay.
So it was a hands-on class. We learned about the DASH diet for dietary approaches for stopping hypertension, and as a kind of party favors to go home, we all made our own spice mixes. So one of them that was pretty much a good favorite was a sweet turmeric blend.
Okay.
And this turmeric blend we could add to yogurt, we could add to vegetables, we could add to fruit, smoothies. So then you could have these little spice mixes. You can just try it on your own, different spices that you want to experiment with things that you like. But this is really a fun one.
right.
So this is actually a real easy one. So if you have these 3 items, I have on the top, you can see it says 1 teaspoon because for the event we had it all labeled. So if you would like to take 1 tablespoon of each of these items, the cocoa, cinnamon,
1 teaspoon.
1 teaspoon each. So this is an actual teaspoon
Does it actually fit in
level.
there?
You might have to spill it out a little bit. Another thing that you could add this to is sweet potatoes or oatmeal. It's endless how many things you can actually add this to. So we're going to take a teaspoon of each. And did you take some turmeric? You can open it.
Okay. Well, opening it might be a challenge for me.
Okay. Would you like me to try and open it?
Yes, please.
Okay. In the meantime, take 1 teaspoon of cocoa.
Okay. Do you want me to actually use the same?
I have another teaspoon right here.
Because we know we shouldn't be mixing.
No, and I think we had another teaspoon here before, but I don't see it. Okay. You are right. This is not so easy. So we know that this is sealed and protected. So when you're shopping, if you see something that's already been opened, bring it back to the customer service desk. You shouldn't really try and eat anything that's been tampered with. But that we know for a fact this has not been tampered with. This is not exactly here. There you go. So take 1 teaspoon and put that into your mix.
Well,
go for it.
We'll have a little bit more than 1 teaspoon.
Well, then you get more antioxidants. That's great. And actually, I said you could experiment and adjust this for yourself because
I don't know really what it smells like. Because you know how there are some spices that remind you of different things. I'm just going to whisk this around.
So you could add turmeric to sometimes I add it to my scrambled eggs or I add it to rice. And this will be an all-natural yellow color when you cook this in with your rice.
Okay.
And great antioxidants, as I said.
Okay, it's mixed. It's all
mixed together. So, you adjust it.
Okay.
this is this type of sweet turmeric blend. You can, when you try it, the amount that you want, you could adjust to your own taste.
Well, I'm
and
going
you
to
can
actually add this so that it's not wasted.
go for it. You might have yellow hands, but
I'm definitely going to have yellow. You know what? I will probably have yellow carpet when I'm done also. There we go. Get this off here.
oh, I'd like to see you explain that to your next interview coming up about your yellow hand.
About my yellow hands.
Okay.
So when you're talking about classes, let's stop for a second and focus on that. Classes at Hannaford.
Yes.
How do people find out about them, first of all?
Well, people could go online to the Hannaford website and see all the dietitians who are in many of the Hannaford supermarkets. I actually am located on the Wolf Road, Hannaford in Colonie, New York, and also in Albany on the Central Avenue store. So if you come into the store, you will see my schedule for when I'm going to be in the store doing classes and demos. You could also send me an email, and we could you can find out that way. You can leave a message for me with customer service. But in addition to the classes and demos, I also will meet with people individually on different times that we could mutually convenient times.
So go into your Hannaford, and there are many ways you can find out
There are many
about
ways,
the
yes.
classes. Wonderful. So now we've made this sweet turmeric.
Yes. So there are other blends that you can, like I said, try for yourself. You can make a Mediterranean blend we made the other day. And the Mediterranean blend that we made, just in case people are watching and want to try it, I just took 1 teaspoon of thyme. This is a McCormick recipe, and it came out really well. 1 teaspoon of thyme, 2 teaspoons oregano, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. And remember, not garlic salt, but garlic powder, and a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. You could add that to pasta. You could add that to chicken, vegetables, fish. And the reason I mentioned not garlic salt is because any type of spice that says salt after it has sodium, which we're trying to watch as we get older.
Sure.
So the recommendation for most people who have no cardiac or blood pressure issues is usually between 1,500 and 2,300 milligrams a day.
Okay, which is what, like, compared to another measurement? Because
So
I don't
another
think of
measurement here. So I have a teaspoon. This is a level teaspoon, not necessarily the teaspoons that you use from your silverware because they may be bigger, but an actual baking teaspoon. 1 teaspoon of salt is the maximum that most people should have every day. And that includes foods, salt that you might add to your food. It includes processed foods. We need to be reading labels.
And people don't think about that.
Yeah, so most people probably have double that at least. And it's hard I wish I had pictured some of the expressions from the class the other night when their eyes when they notice this is all the salt you're supposed to have a day. And again, that includes labels. So includes processed foods or eating out. It's always good if you're eating out to ask that your food be prepared without salt because there's plenty of spices, you probably would not notice it. So that's the level of the maximum. Probably when you're seeing a cardiologist, might request you to have less than that.
Certainly.
Depending on your cardiac needs.
So as we're putting these down, because I think we're through with these at the moment, when we were talking about Mediterranean, we were talking about the sweet turmeric, actually how much, when we just made this, how much does this serve? When I'm using it, is it enough for if I'm making portions for one person, or something I'm making a portion of 2, 3, or 4?
Well, that's really up to your taste. So let's say you're putting it into yogurt, let's say, because it has nice cocoa and cinnamon taste. It depends how spicy you like it. And if somebody has a taste sensation problem, they may need more, but they may need less. So it's really up to you. There's really not a maximum problem having too much of that spice.
Okay. So spicing up our food helps with taste. What else actually helps? I mean, when we're talking about numbing of the senses, how much does texture play a role?
So all our senses really play a role in how we see a food. I still remember back to college the experiment we had with soda. We were blindfolded, and there were different sodas like orange soda, Coke, and this is nutrition. And we did have soda. I was surprised about this, but anyway, so we had to taste these different foods blindfolded and guess what flavor it was, and we were unable to do it. But as soon as we had no blindfold on, the orange said, "Oh yes, that tastes like orange." Our senses really give us clues. So if we see something that's orange, we may taste orange when it really has the same taste as something else. And texture too is really important in enjoying a food.
You know, it's funny you say that because particularly talking about soda, if I see, purple's my favorite color. If I see grape crush or purple soda, grapes I don't necessarily associate with as always being purple.
Right.
And yet, I'm like, oh, this is great. This is grape. It's really not grapes, and it doesn't really taste like it. But now like you said, you see it, you become accustomed to it, and there it is.
Right. So our senses really play a big role. All our senses in smelling foods too. Yeah, so absolutely.
All right. So what else do you have for us that we're gonna talk about? Because we know as we get older, let's talk about actually a fallacy. As we're growing up, we hear 8 glasses of water a day. And yet seniors need to stay hydrated, but that 8 glasses of water is not really what doctors are saying as a regular recommendation.
Well, I think as people age, our water requirements may differ depending on our cardiac status, but truly, the requirements for seniors are really the same as everybody else's in terms of all our nutrients, except for their increase for calcium and vitamin D. But our need for calories goes down. So we need to be very selective in what we're choosing, nutrient-dense foods, so we get all the vitamins and minerals we need. In terms of hydration, we really do need to hydrate. And again, it depends on your status, your health status, but it really shouldn't go down. So one thing to carry around would be a water bottle and taking sips throughout the day. If you can't drink it all at one time, that's fine, but just, a water bottle that you can refill. You could also jazz it up if you don't like plain water. You could put in some lemon, lime, different fruits, cucumbers, whatever.
Very popular now.
Very popular.
But and I know you're a dietitian, but to address this, you can refill it. But there have been discussions about not carrying it around the same bottle of water refilled day to day to day because of germs and things. So we probably
so you need to wash it. So it'd be a good idea to have your own water bottle, and then you can wash it out and put new water in every day.
Okay.
But I just suggested this one because it already has a cap and easy to easy to just throw in your bag when you're going out. And then you could also see how many ounces are on it, but you can measure your own water bottle too to see how many ounces you're really getting. The real key to anybody in any age, if you're getting enough hydration, is to look at your urine. If your urine is like a dark color, that means the urine is really concentrated. You're not getting enough fluid.
You need more water.
And water is really the best hydration you can get. You can get your water through having tea. You can have some soup. You have fruits. There are many options to hydrate. So really, your urine color should really be like a straw color, very light.
But talk to me. You're bringing up tea, and yet tea is a diuretic, is it not?
Tea is a diuretic, but we still consider the fluid in there as
so
your fluid.
It still
counts as your fluid. So if sometimes people wind up in the emergency room being confused. That's because they might be dehydrated. The other issue you mentioned about taste is that as we get older, our bodies don't tell us really when we're thirsty, as well as when we were younger. Even being younger, our bodies really we're not really good at knowing when we're really thirsty.
Because by the time you know you're thirsty, you have a dry mouth, you're well beyond.
That's right. So the time you're really thirsty, you're probably already a little dehydrated. So people who don't have enough water or hydration might have really dry skin, may get headaches, nauseous, and confused. So there are people who wind up in the emergency room, get hydrated, and they're perfectly fine. They're not confused anymore. So it's a real big issue to make sure you're hydrating enough. And like I said, a good indicator is looking at your skin is not too dry, and also your urine is like the key. If somebody is taking a lot of B vitamins, that would be the exception to your urine might be like a bright yellow from the B vitamins, but that doesn't mean you're dehydrated. So, but in general, urine should be a light color.
Okay, so we're talking about soup and tea and fruits and vegetables, which
fruits and vegetables, and I happen to bring these Cara oranges because they happen to be on sale this week.
Okay.
There's lots of fruits and vegetables on sale every week. It's good, especially being on a limited income, is looking to see what you can eat that's on sale. Everything in the fruits and vegetables in the produce department is really healthy for you.
Because that's really important, because when we're talking about seniors, many people, we're all on budgets, but when we're talking about seniors, sometimes that budget is really stretched. And in
Yes.
order to eat healthy,
Yes.
you have to be able to afford that. So, for instance, oranges, and we could talk about this now, the recommended daily for seniors, perhaps, for fruits and vegetables?
There really is not a change as you get older. We need to have the same nutrients. As I mentioned, the exception would be calcium and vitamin D, which is actually higher in seniors. So that's why we need to be careful what we're eating. We don't really have as much space for cookies or chips because we have to make sure, if we don't want to gain weight, to make sure that we're having all our nutrients in. Cara oranges, if anyone hasn't tried them, have like a red natural pigment to them. So
Okay.
they're very sweet, low acid. In addition to vitamin C and fiber, which we all need, which is another concern with seniors, is fiber. It's also a good source of lycopenes. Any red produce item is a good source of the antioxidant lycopene, which is a great for preventing cancer.
Because we talked about colors last time, and
Yes,
having-
eating from the rainbow,
eating
right?
from the rainbow.
Right.
I just want to remind everyone that I am talking today with Fran Weiss, a dietitian from Hannaford Supermarkets. We're talking about senior health and really health for everyone, how healthy they have healthy foods we should eat. So you have some things that piqued my curiosity. I am a hummus lover and I'm a cheese lover.
Perfect. So
So,
the reason I actually brought this, we were talking about taste before, but I meant to show this. There's always new products looking around the supermarket. So this is a relatively new product from Cabot.
Oh, horseradish spread
It's
cheddar.
horseradish. So if people do have a problem with taste, the horseradish should really spark your
Sure.
taste. So so this is a good option to try. It's fun to walk around the supermarket getting extra exercise and noting, spotting new products. So this is a nice one especially.
All right, so let me-
And you're welcome to taste it. We didn't-
So let me actually take a look now, and we're looking at carbs. 3 grams of carbs in a serving. The serving is 2 tablespoons, so that's a pretty decent amount. But when we think about, I always think of volume
right.
and how much truly what we're supposed to have and how much people really.
Well, actually, just to let you know, on the labels, when you see a nutrition label, it's not necessarily how much you're supposed to have. The serving size basically is what the nutrition facts label is referring to. So it's a serving size based on their calculation. So
Okay.
you don't have to have 2 tablespoons. So a tablespoon, again, is just the size.
level, yeah.
And if you're going to have any type of dip like this just to spark somebody's appetite, it's also nice and smooth if somebody has a chewing problem.
Sure.
It's good to have it on some type of whole grain, maybe a whole grain cracker, or eating from the rainbow and having different vegetable dips like
Vegetables, yep.
baby carrots, celery, cucumbers, broccoli would be a great way to get more fiber in.
Or maybe even some kind of pita chips.
Pita chip, whole grain, just look to make
Something
sure that
along those
there's
lines.
whole wheat.
So let me actually take a look at the hummus. Now, I would think that the hummus is going to be a little better in some of the categories. Because hummus, as we know, are chickpeas.
That's correct. So chickpeas is a great fiber for all of us. Good source of protein.
And as I'm looking at, the trans fats 0. Once again, their nutrition facts serving size 2 tablespoons. And yet I'm looking at this total carbs 5 grams. Fiber, a gram of fiber. Yeah.
It's a great product. It's a great product to try. So since you mentioned fiber, fiber is one thing that one type of part of food that we should consider as we're getting older. People have problems with constipation, so it's hard actually to have enough fiber sometimes if people aren't used to it.
Sure.
So having enough fruits and vegetables, as we're talking about on my plate, having whole grains, either whole grain crackers, whole grain bread, or oatmeal is a whole grain. Any type of whole grains is really important and fruits and vegetables to give you the fiber you need. Sometimes people might be constipated from a medication, or else just our system is a little bit sluggish. So having extra fiber and fluids together should help with the constipation problem. Extra fiber also is good for helping with any problem with cholesterol. So,
Well, I'm going to move these down. There's something that I want to make sure we get to that we didn't really last time, and my mother is totally loving
Avocado.
And we talked last time about how we are not supposed to cut in a certain way. Let me remind everyone, how do you?
So avocados are a really popular food lately. So it's relatively recent that people are really loving avocados, so people aren't sure how to cut them. So again, if they're really hard when you get them, don't even try to cut them, because first of all, you're not going to like the taste of it. They need to be a little ripe, a little soft to the touch. You just give a little pressure, then it will be ready. If you're not ready to eat it when it has that right pressure, put it in the refrigerator. It'll last a little longer. But in terms of safety, never hold an avocado in your hand like this. I don't have a knife in my hand, so I can kind of show you without. So try not to just cut this towards your hand, because if you slip, especially if it's hard, and even if it's not hard, you will cut your hand. There's been a lot of injuries in the emergency room from avocado injuries. You can look it up online and Google. It's really unbelievable. So the way you really need to cut an avocado is to get a cutting board. Just put your avocado down like that. Hold it on the top with one hand. Take your knife, a small knife. Sometimes somebody told me they saw on TV a chef with a big chef's knife whacking it. I said, you don't need a big chef knife for this little avocado. A small paring knife is fine. Even a plastic knife will do it. You don't even have to use a sharp knife. If it's soft, yes. So sometimes I just use a plastic knife. This is also the ultimate convenience food. It's all packaged. So all you have to do if you have a plastic knife is cut on one side.
Well, you're going to hold it there, so I'm just going to show we're cutting this way.
And then you're going to cut the other way, same place.
Cut in the same place, and then
we're just going to twist it.
Yep.
I should have brought a knife. And then you just twist it, and you'll have two halves. And you actually can just take a spoon and scoop out your avocado and have instant food. So if you're
take out the big pit.
Right, don't eat the pit, but one side won't have the pit, and then you can take the pit out of the other side. But if you take a spoon with you, and a plastic spoon and a plastic knife, you can be out for the day and have a really healthy, delicious snack. The fat content is the healthy type of fat, monounsaturated, so that will be filling too. So if you're in the shopping mall, instead of buying a donut or whatever they're selling that's high in fat and sugar that we all don't need, if you had one of these in your bag, you could sit down on a bench and open up and have your avocado.
Yeah, as long as it's not too mushy.
As long as
pretty easy.
Well, if it's too mushy, if it's a little black on the inside, it's a little too long to hold it. But
not if it's black. Sometimes if it's a little too soft but not yet black. And let's talk about that, because once you cut the avocado, at some point it will turn black. If you're not
hopefully you're eating it before that. But if it does turn, the way to prevent that is leaving that big pit in the half that you're not using, and then wrapping it tightly and putting it in the refrigerator. It should really last longer. Some people put a little lemon juice on it. But if you wrap it, it'll stay longer that way. So leave the pit in, because that will help.
Okay, interesting.
Nature's way of protecting itself.
Interesting, good. So avocado. We have a couple of other things in the remaining minute and a half or so that we have. You've got, I see some yogurt, maybe, cottage cheese?
So, in terms of this cottage cheese, I have a few reasons why I brought this. In terms of portion control, some people say they don't want to buy a big container of cottage cheese or any other item. This is a nice item, and actually this is what I had for breakfast with some yogurt and a banana. And this is a healthy way to eat. A lot of good protein, and these can be separated out. There's 4 nice serving sizes here to put in your pocket with that avocado. You've got a great healthy snack, less expensive than trying to buy something in the mall. Foods like yogurt will have good probiotics that will help our gut health. We're talking about keeping our good bacteria working well. So this has good probiotics. We also need prebiotics, which help the probiotics, which help feed the probiotics. So a good source of prebiotics would be bananas, onions, garlic, and different vegetables with a lot of fiber. And the interesting thing about this product, this cottage cheese product, it does have prebiotics in it. So if you mix them together, you're getting probiotics and prebiotics, but you don't have to mix them together.
Wonderful. Well, you know what? The time has gone so quickly. Again, Fran, we're going to have you back, but this has been very educational. We actually almost got through everything this time that you have here on the Magic Table. But I want to thank you, and I'll have you back again soon to make sure and check in that we are actually eating the way we should be eating.
I'll be checking on you, Mary.
Thank you, Fran.
Okay.
Fran Weiss, who joined us from Hannaford Supermarkets, dietitian there. Stop by and see Fran in the Albany store or in the Colonie store on Wolf Road. I'm Mary Rozak. This has been Albany County News. We'll see you again soon.